on 19 Keys, and this is High Level Conversation. The library.
And met Minister Farrakhan. He asked me to come out there. I think it was maybe in 2015, 2016, because he had read an article that I did about the disproportionate injury to Black children from certain vaccines, from the MMR vaccine. There was a study that came out in 2005. The chief author was a guy called Frank DeStefano. He's the head of the Immunization Safety Office at CDC. And he had done a study of Georgia children to look at the MMR vaccine. And during the course of that study, and there were 5 other authors, during the course of that study, they found out that Black children who got the vaccine on time, in other words, before 36 months, that they had a 2.5 times greater incident of autism than Black kids who waited or who didn't get it at all. And that Black boys had a 3.8, so 3.5 times, more than 3.5 times, almost 4 times the rate of autism than kids who waited or didn't get it at all. And so I had done and then the CDC had actually, the lead author was a guy called William Thompson, who's still at CDC. He was the senior vaccine safety specialist. And he had revealed this data. He had said, holy cow, this is really bad. And on a Saturday, I think it was September 12th, 2002, all of the authors were called to a conference room at CDC, and they were asked to bring their race-based data. In other words, all the data that revealed the race of the kids and that revealed this signal. They all went into that conference room, and when they got there, there were 4 giant blue garbage cans, and they were told to dump their hard drives and all the race-based data into those garbage cans and destroy them. And they published the study in 2005, and they pretended that data didn't exist. So they just lied to the public. The person who ordered it is a woman named Colleen Boyle, who was also one of the co-authors. She's the only co-author who wasn't there that day, but she ordered the destruction of that data. She's still running the vaccine division at CDC. So they just lied to people, and maybe 500,000 Black kids have gotten autism since then. And, the indicators from this study is that a lot of the vaccines have a lot to do with that. So I had written an article about that, about this study, and I got contacted by Tony Muhammad here in LA. He asked me if I'd be willing to go out and talk to some physicians and other health experts of the Nation of Islam in Chicago. And I went out there and spent a day with them. And it was very enlightening with me because I saw also the concern that the discipline that you talked about, and, everybody wearing suits, everybody looking very presentable, people. I learned for the first time that if you own a gun, that it is grounds for expulsion from the Nation of Islam. And that, and also the health issues, which had a big impact on me because Tony Muhammad, who looks really good at his age, and everybody looked good. Everybody looked incredibly healthy. And they said that they were only eating 1 meal a day. And it got me interested in intermittent fasting, which I do to this day.
Yeah,
I think it's really had a huge impact on my health.
That's where it comes from in America. Intermittent fasting comes from Elijah Muhammad when he wrote his book, How to Eat to Live, Part 1 and 2. And then he popularized it in America because he had a list of dietary restrictions, what to eat, what not to eat, what were the effects of it. And, 1 meal a day was best prescribed. And, since then, a lot of practitioners and health science has picked it up. But I believe he was the most influential in that particular category. I'm also a heavy thinker in the realm that you have to remain objective about everybody, right? Because it's not what you know, it's what you don't know that can hurt you, right? I look forward to having more conversations with politicians, and understanding the political process more, educating myself more, because I don't believe that I'm fully educated and or informed. So I had to do a lot of research, and I had a short amount of time to do this research before we had this episode. And that's why I say go do your own research.
I think I have a few questions. People going to ask me. So, what are you voting for? Are you going to vote?
I endorse no candidate. I'm voting for myself. I would like to sit down and talk with Cornel West, right? And I want to see what he has to say. Not that I personally believe that he could win. Well, no, because black people are loyal to the Democratic Party, and then the people that are breaking off from that loyalty to the Democratic Party are going directly over to Trump. I think that that would be a lot he would have to do in the next 4 months to have this great surgence, right? To get into the minds of the people. And get this extreme amount of loyalty instantly. I don't see that. Like I said, if there was a candidate I respect a lot of things that they do, it would have been RFK, right? Yeah, that's it. But no, I'm most likely not voting in the first place, so it don't even matter. This was a conversation that wasn't specifically about my interest, right? It was what I believe are the interests of the people. I sit down with so many different people and I can just sit there and have a high level conversation. Like, honestly, if there was something I wanted to talk to him about, it would have really been about, his lawsuits and his fights that he had. And I could have spent hours just going through and sifting through those stories. But I know that there's so many other things that's on the mind of the people about, like, who is he, right? And when you start getting into politics, right, you're going to offend people regardless. Right. There's going to be people on both sides of the aisle, people that don't even want me to talk to him, people that don't like him before, people that said that you didn't go deeper on this enough, right? You shouldn't have talked on this. There's going to be all of that. So in this one, I wanted to try to see if I can get as well-rounded amount of conversation as possible to where at least present your mind on these subjects, right? I can't pin you down to force you to answer a certain way, but I want the people to listen and be like, okay, this is how he thinks, right? He shifted this way on this one. He went direct on this one. He went roundabout on this one. They deflect on this one, right? That's your job to be able to look at those things and be like, you're learning how persons think when they come on high level conversation, right? Sometimes I sit with the elders and I really just want to pick their brain. And like I said, if I was to sit down with him again, it will really going deeper diving on those other subjects that I think are important, like the food in America, the drug crisis in America, the toxins and chemicals, the air quality, the medical racism, right? The shadow governments, the CIA, the private and public intelligence. There's so many different factors and ways that we can go about this particular conversation. Those to me are actually more interesting. But the goal is not to just, because you're running for president and it's politics, the goal is not to just give you an audience, right, and a microphone to be favorable in front of my audience, right? It's also to challenge you, right, to where you're either going to, court favor from people that listen and like the way you think, or you're going to offend them, right? And they're going to move further away from you. And my job is to present your mind to the world to where they can make a decision about who you are. Like I said, in this one, it's a lot of thinking involved for me. Because in no way do I like to portray that I know everything. This is 19 Keys with a Platform Learning. I think the beautiful thing about his platform and many other people who have reached out to us is that they are respecting the platform's influence that it has. And my platform is open to many different people. As if I'm open it to RFK, I'm open it to people that disagree with me. I'm open to people that agree with me. I'm open on many different fronts if we can have conversations that are productive, that get people to think. And a lot of things, like I said, the most important things about the conversation is, the economic policies, which I'm going to say I wasn't satisfied with. But then we say, okay, I don't think no president is going to satisfy that particularly, but I do like to fight against the toxicity of America. That to me is the greater part of it. I got younger brothers who got lead poisoning, right, in St. Louis through the paint. So, and we talk about prison reform, right? We talk about food deserts, right? We talk about education. We talk about lack of access to capital. We talk about job creation. All of these things actually really affect me in real life and affect the conditions of how we grew up, right? So like I told him, I don't expect him to solve those problems, but I expect you to create opportunities for people who are solving those problems and have those solutions for the brain trust of Black America. And if you're willing to work with the real brain trust of Black America, then things can change. But if you're only willing to stand next to the safe Black Americans, those who are considered to be quote unquote safe on paper, then there ain't no change gonna come. And so I respect his campaign and platform more than any other candidate. You feel me? Because I don't see, and I could be wrong, I don't see Kamala Harris sitting in that chair. I don't see them inviting us to the White House. You know what I'm saying? So I think the way that he started his platform off already was unconventional, right? And radical, that you're talking to different sides of America that usually don't get the opportunity to have their voice and opinion in an election. If you want to be free, learn how to think. He talked about how Operation Mockingbird, right, where the CIA owns all of the media assets that run psychological operations and programs on the American people to sway them in one direction or the other. Think about all of the programs that you watch that are directly funded by the CIA. This ain't one of them. You know what I'm talking about? And to detox yourself from those things, you need a new diet. Right? And coming on high level conversations, man, that's like eating the best organic plant-based food on the planet Earth for your mind, right? Because it's not a place where we're trying to poison you. This is not a place where we're trying to manipulate you. We're not trying to trick you. We simply want to get you to think, question reality, take in information, understand different perspectives, right? This is the place where culture really happens. Right? Real culture happens because we have to have an intellectual culture, a science culture, technology culture, engineering, arts, mathematic culture, right? A political culture, understanding law culture, right? We talking about, like, for me, I believe that, you know, being the voice of a generation, right, is very important because everybody's afraid to speak up. There's so many people that's out there right now that's watching this and they believe that they should be in this position. And our goal is to create a platform for all of you all. We can't do it immediately, right? We don't have any outside funding or budget. We do everything ourselves. I mean, it's going to take longer. So what you're seeing is something that's unprecedented. He talked about, you know, Black land loss in the United States. Now, I was looking at an article that was published February 1st, 2024. 1910, Black farmers owned as much as 16 million acres of farmland in the United States. While they comprised only 1.8% of the U.S. farmland at the time, Black farm owners own even less today. As of 2017, just 2.9 million acres, or 0.3%, right? This is because of racism, violence, anti-Black legislation, discrimination, you know, federal agencies, and a multitude of other different practices that have been going on for the last 100 years. Now, we talked about this. This is something that really affects us, right? If we're not having conversations like this that's customized to our community, right, and customized to our past, which represents our future, then what is the point of us having media in the first place? Right? It is our job to expose issues and problems, right? For me, when you talk about, like, what would happen if high level conversations had more budget, if the high level club, things of that nature, had more budget? We start our own Operation High Level. They had Operation Mockingbird. We got Operation High Level to give the truth to the people. Right? I think that the fear that people have had historically about AI is a fear that they have historically about you and I, right? Because they're afraid that if we start thinking that the oppressed class will take over the oppressors, they think that they are your makers, right? And the goal is, yes, I want to get you to think so that you can start communicating across networks and understanding your power, right? And when you understand your power, what you want to do, decide your future. So why would you continue to work for people, right, that have made you into their slave? Think. When we think and it's providing you information, you have to ask yourself, man, you know, how come we haven't had more conversations like this? How come, there's so much blackface media out there, right? They get all of this advertisement dollars, but they don't have serious conversations. They never go see an exchange like that with a candidate on one of those platforms. Why? Because they are controlled and owned by which entities? See, now when you start tracing the money back, you're seeing a representative of that money. And because we free and because we don't have money from none of those people, I'm going to speak the truth and only focus on your concerns, right? And only focus on the truth. And I'm going to challenge people that sit there, right? My goal is not to attack people. My goal is not to create a violent platform. My goal is to create a cipher to where we can build and communicate. Because if I was literally sitting down with the president, I don't want to focus on all the differences. I want to focus on immediate change, right? So having this platform feels like a beautiful responsibility, right? I've been reaching out to people and asking them to be contributors. We have a news desk now to where we're pushing out news that we believe is important. And you may have a voice. You may make content, right? And I want you to be a contributor of high level conversation. Reach out to us. Go to 19 Keys, at 19keys.com, right? And fill out one of the applications so you can be a part of it. When you start to see more independent media, America is already changed. Politicians, big government, these institutions are just slow to change. They should have been came. I've been learning that, all of the governments are deciding all for mayors, governors, presidents, right? They understand this thing that they can't go to print ads, digital ads, and try to influence the people. That's not going to work. So they're paying influencers. They're going direct to you. And this is why we're going to help people build brands, right? Have your media, because they understand that the power is in the people. When you build in your community and you have the trust of the people, if they're not going through you, right, the people are not going to be listening. But you also have to have real eyes that realize the real lies that's out there, right? When you're talking about what's going on in TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, you got to understand when there's a paid puppet, right? Or there's somebody that's real. And most people are paid puppets. They ain't giving you nothing real. Right? When you're incentivized by $1, you can't give people the truth, right? Because then it will cut off your water. So for me, I want to be funded by the people. I want to be funded by real people, real businesses that do not have an agenda to take away and muzzle the truth, but instead create more of it, because the culture in the future is about transparency and honesty and truth. And if America is to have a future, right, where the disadvantaged people start to drive, it has to be one that is honest. We don't want this same, snake in the grass culture that we have of corruption, to where we even have all these government agencies, FDA, right, USDA, all of these that we believe, we can trust. And then you come peel back the layers and you realize, like, these are the company and the one that regulates them are the same, right? No, look, this right here, crazy. Disclaimer. Don't take this if you don't want to have a super day. I think it got way too much of each ingredient in here, especially the lion's mane and the black seed oil and the MCT oil and the cannabinoids. This had me up all night and I was just knocking out everything. Got to the point I ain't even got nothing to do tomorrow. If you want to like spread out your week in a week, don't take this. If you want to knock out a week in a day, this right here have you going. This is like Viagra for the brain. You ever wake up and you got limp brain, you feel mentally dry and you don't feel inspired and you ain't got what is required for you to go climb that tower of the day and knock everything down? Don't take this, because this will have you pound for pound ready to go Mike Tyson rounds. You know what I'm talking about? This Supermind right here is the best thing that I've ever had in my life, but I think it may be too much for the average person. Or maybe we need to put a disclaimer that this is extreme, because this right here, man, I feel like I can do anything. Literally anything. Yeah, this too much. This too much. This too much. Come on. What else we got to get done, man? Send me the whole agenda. Let's do everything today. We shooting for 24 hours today. I ain't stopping. And y'all think I'm playing. Y'all better take some as well. Matter of fact, here you go. Yeah, you take some, because I'm working. Non-stop. Ain't no cut. Let's go.
19 Keys, and this is High Level Conversation. The library.